Are you ready to alter your life? Because that's what's about to happen. If you're looking for a judgment-free zone where TMI doesn't exist, to have the conversations you're not supposed to have, and explore how to make small yet substantial, sustainable changes in your life to actually care for and empower yourself through physical and emotional fitness, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Alyssa Alter, MOMDON, the Amy Poehler of vaginas, author, speaker, coach, former Broadway performer, certified Pilates instructor, pelvic health expert, comedian, co-founder of postpartum.com, mom on the mend, and board certified doctor of nothing. I believe that if we put as much time, energy, and discipline on our insides as we do our outsides, we'll be unstoppable. Welcome to another mini episode of Alter Your Life. As you've probably noticed, I've now started alternating every other week with these mini episodes. A quick tip, practice, quote, inspiration, thought to help you open up your mind, alter your life, and share a little bit about what's going on in my neck of the woods. So today, we're talking about new patterns. So I've been thinking about this, obviously, physically, and obviously emotionally, because the parallels between the two are my favorite. And as you probably know, I am pregnant. I am into my second trimester. Thank God, feeling so much better. I recently published a full-length episode about thoughts from the first trimester, silence, fat phobia, and suffering out loud, which I invite you to check out. And so the second trimester is different. I feel better. I have more energy, even though I'm still really tired. But maybe that's pregnancy plus pregnancy with a toddler. And my body is really changing a lot. Like my belly is growing, the baby is growing, my center of gravity is changing. My movement patterns have to adapt, right? The same way that I was aligning my spine and my body in a not pregnant body and a brand new pregnant body where there's bloating and your body does start to physically change. My boobs explode immediately, but the size of the baby isn't shifting your center of gravity that much yet. Like the baby hasn't grown to the point that it is physically manipulating your body and your center of gravity and all of that stuff. So it's just a little bit different. So the way now that I have to align my body, and honestly, it changes daily, it changes throughout the day, and it certainly changes week to week as my body continues to shapeshift, and also whether or not I pooped that day plays a part because digestion gets weird in pregnancy. I know, I said it. That I am developing new movement patterns. And what's been really, really interesting, and I talked about this a little bit on the podcast with Patricia Lattice, who is a brilliant physical therapist, that this time, this is my second pregnancy, my body remembers what being pregnant was like. So there are musculoskeletal responses, my muscles, my body, my movement patterns are responding to hormonal shifts in my body because the hormones are reminding my body, oh, she's this pregnant. This is what pregnancy feels like. But the memory is of being a million years pregnant. So my movement patterns I find that I started moving around like I'm 9.5 months pregnant. Pregnancy is 10 months, by the way. Okay, I know we all say 9 months. It's 10. And, but also we count it in weeks. But anyway, so I'm moving around I'm 36 weeks pregnant, 39 weeks pregnant. Pregnancy is usually give or take 40 weeks. That's what they say. Whatever, babies come when they're ready. Some come early, some come late. That's a separate episode. But I'm 17 weeks pregnant right now as I'm recording this, but I started moving around I'm 39 weeks pregnant. And I have to remind myself, Alyssa, you're not. You still have a lot of mobility. You still have access to a lot of things. What are the movement patterns, not that are a memory from last pregnancy, but what are your movement patterns right now? In this body, 17 weeks pregnant with your second baby at 38 years old, which newsflash, is really fucking different than when you're 34 years old, okay? This is an older, tired Already mom bod. It feels different. And the physical and emotional challenges are different. I don't want to qualify them as better or worse or anything because that's also subjective and relative and also like changes minute to minute, but it's completely different. And so I am really working on being present with that and appreciating, okay, that's a memory from last time. Cool. Maybe there's some information there I can use. And this isn't last time. This is a different pregnancy. I am a different person. This is a different body. What does this body need right now? What do I feel in this body that maybe some things from last time are helpful and maybe they don't apply? I'm going to use all of the information I have, play to the top of my intelligence. That's a rule from improv. And really work to be in this experience, which is also really important for me. And I mean, I think this is important for all of us to let each experience be its own experience while using the information that we gained from previous experiences. But it's very important for me to stay in that because I have post-traumatic stress disorder. I have PTSD. I have made gains with it, but my body remembers that trauma and I will end up triggered, like in a precarious place if I'm not practicing the presence of this is a different experience, right? I'm planning a cesarean. I am not available for a vaginal birth, which you may have heard in a previous mini episode I shared about that. This is a different experience. And this also came up recently. As I've said this before, I am open about it. I have PTSD. I have PTSD from my birth experience, and I have PTSD from repeated childhood experiences. So, it's a fucking minefield over here, but it's also, right? I have the support in place. I've done the work with my therapist, in my body, with physical therapy, with all of these, different modalities to build a toolbox for myself. And I wanted to happily report back that I developed as a child the coping mechanism of dissociation. So if something scary happened, if something triggered PTSD or made me feel unsafe or really made me feel a lot of feelings, which was not safe to do in my home, I would dissociate. So it's like kind of feels like an out of body experience. And it was like my body was like, get out of here. This is not safe. We're going to go somewhere else where like that doesn't really exist. And we'll sort of move around it, over it, under it, just all the way around it like it's not there or like shove it aside so that we can operate how we need to in order to stay safe and feel safe in this environment. This is a brilliant coping mechanism that our brains are capable of, right? And people experiencing this here and there doesn't mean you have PTSD. This is a thing our brains do. It's brilliant. And it can then also become maladaptive and also happen at times where it's like, I don't need this right now, right? And we want to evolve. We want to grow and like figure out when it's happening, what triggers that, what is it that we really need that can help us stay safe, right? Like get to the root of the issue. So something that I often feel when my dissociation is happening is I'll feel this sense that I need to cry. I want to cry. And I can't. I can't totally articulate it. It's the feeling is in my body, but there is a space between that feeling inside me and then my actual body that is living in the world. I think that's sort of, it's like an out of body, but it's in my body. It's like an in of my body experience. And that's sort of been my clue, like, oh, I'm dissociating because I've spent a lot of time dissociating. I'm really, really good at it. And I'm really high functioning. So I've become fluent in that. And I know I'm like, oh, okay, I'm in this place. I need to go take a yoga class. I need to journal. I need to kind of like slow down and I'm not okay, even though I'm operating really well. That makes sense? That makes sense. Duh. Anyway, we moved. we moved. I am pregnant. We left Brooklyn. We moved with a toddler. When we moved into our house, there was like a mix up with our internet. So we didn't have internet, which means we also had no television, which means that we had a 3-year-old where we could not use any screen time to help, because also we have to change our cell phone providers because our cell reception on its own in this house isn't the greatest. We have AT&T. People here use Verizon because of whatever. It was a really hard weekend, and it was really emotional. I'm pregnant, so I'm already hormotional. And then we moved. That's a big deal. And Everett was sleeping weird, and so then I wasn't getting the right amount of sleep, which I don't blame him. This is a big transition. He was in a room he doesn't know. Like, it all makes sense. But all of these things added up to me really not being okay, and I would have been in a position where in the past, I would have dissociated. But I didn't. Instead, I woke up Sunday morning. We moved on Friday. I woke up Sunday morning, and I cried. And then I couldn't stop crying for a while. I had to cry. The emotions had to come out. The crying had to happen because I was feeling so many things. And Jeremy said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Really, this is my response to everything. Nothing is wrong. I'm so happy. This is so great. I love the house. And we moved. And I'm pregnant. And I'm so tired. Because also there are so many stairs in this house. I'm tired. And the baby, and Everett hasn't slept. And I'm pregnant. And we moved. And it's all the things. And I just needed some time to cry, which Jeremy graciously gave to me. And I realized in that cry sesh, which felt great, like sometimes you just got to get the bad out. I realized that this is a new pattern for me, because usually I wouldn't be able to cry. I'd be in that place where I could feel that I needed to cry, that like the feelings needed to move, but I couldn't move them. And this time I moved them. I cried and I got it out. And I recognized it in that moment, and I talked to my therapist about it. I said, it was different. This is different. This is not my usual pattern. My brain is creating new neural pathways, that there are other options than just like abort mission, dissociate. That's it. That's what we do. And we stay there for as long as we need to until we absolutely know the coast is clear. This time I stayed in this situation of heightened emotions, and I felt them and I moved through them. And then we had a great day. And I came down and Everett said, "Do you feel better now, Mommy?" Because he saw me cry. And I said, "I'm just sad. I'm just sad a little bit." And he gave me a hug. And then when he saw me, he said, "Are you feeling better now, Mommy?" I said, "I really am." And he said, "Are you happy?" I said, "I'm really happy." And he gave me a big hug. He said, "I'm happy too. It was the most beautiful thing ever." Let's be honest, I started crying again. Really happy tears. And again, it was this new pattern. So I say this as the reminder that we have set patterns. We have set patterns in our behavior, in our emotions, in our movement, in our physicality. Some of these are phenomenal. Some of these are great. Some of these are coping mechanisms from a time in our life that isn't now. And now it's different. And this is something I remind myself of all the time, especially when I'm triggered in these ways, that I am not married to my ex-husband anymore. I do not live in my father's house. I have built a new life. I live in a home with Jeremy, who's my guy. He is my partner. He is my person. I am safe here. All of me is safe here. He is safe here. My children are safe here. This is a safe family. This is a safe home. This is a very different environment. So while some of my neural pathways might go down the well-worn road of a certain pattern, I am really now starting to be able to earlier catch them and say, oh, yeah, no, we used to live down that road, but we actually live somewhere else now. I didn't even plan this moving metaphor, but here it is just coming up because it's perfect, right? Like, I've moved. And so my patterns get to move also. I get to create new patterns, new habits that are more suited, that are better matched to the life that I am living now. So I invite you to consider your physical movement patterns, your behavior patterns. What are you up to because it's the way you do it? And I'm not saying you have to change all of those. I'm just saying create some more awareness around that. I do this because this is what I do, or do I do this because this is what I always did and I've never thought about it again? Is there a new version? Is there a 2.0, a 3.0, whatever, that maybe would suit me better? Do I want to try something different? Or no, I like this, right? But just the awareness around it, and let me know how it goes. Okay, this mini episode is longer than the other ones. I tried to keep it short, but I have too much to say. And I love this. I love this. I hope you love it too. And I can't wait to hear from you. And I will meet you back here next week for a full-length episode. And always remember, I've got your back, I've got your front, and I've got your undercarriage. Mwah!
Thank you so much for sharing your time with me and listening to the end of this episode. Look at you. You're someone who finishes what they start. I love that about you. And if you're picking up what I'm laying down, be sure to visit me over at alissaalter.com for more resources on how you can alter your life, like downloading the 5-minute meditation that I use to start my day with confidence and ease, all before getting out of bed. See you next week.